This podcast is brought to you by PLI, the Practising Law Institute, providing resources to legal professionals and the law librarian community. For more information, go to pli.edu/librarian.
Hi, I'm Karen Osterly. Thanks for listening. As a practicing law librarian myself, I've been working in the legal information profession for 36 years, currently with PLI's Library Relations team. Theresa Kim, a law librarian based in San Francisco, shares insights about her career journey, the evolution of law libraries, and the integration of new technologies such as artificial intelligence into legal research. Our discussion highlights her professional experience, the changing landscape of legal information management, and ongoing challenges and opportunities within the field. Come join us. Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us. So we have not known each other very long. I think we met in March when I was in our San Francisco office for a meeting, and then we saw each other at AALL in Portland. So can you tell me about how long you've been at Venable and sort of your history being a law librarian?
Sure. So I've been at Venable since January of 2022. So, a little bit around 3.5 years. Yeah.
And then before that, you were at Morgan, Lewis & Bockius?
Yes. Prior to that, I had been at Morgan, Lewis & Bockius in the San Francisco office for over 10 years. Prior to that, I was at Davis Polk & Wardwell in Menlo Park. And then prior to that, I started off my law librarian career in 2002 at Thielen, formerly known as Thielen, Reed & Priest, or Thielen, Brown, Raisman, and Steiner.
Okay. So you've always been in the San Francisco area, or I should say the Bay Area, since you've been a law librarian. Are you from out there?
I'm actually originally from Houston, Texas.
You are?
So I've bounced around a bit. I actually lived in New York City as well, but I went to college in Ohio. So I've been a little bit around the country and lived overseas as a kid. And so, yeah. So
where did you live overseas?
My dad was an engineer for Exxon, so I actually lived in Malaysia growing up.
Wow.
And so I went to international school there. And so that was
ISKL.
Yes.
My father was career Army. And so we only had one post overseas, but I was at ISB, International School of Bangkok. So we were there for 2.5 years. But I have dear friends in the State Department, and wherever they go, I go to see them. So I've been to KL to visit them, and their daughters were at ISK. And before that, they were at ISO, which is International School Ouagadougou, and then International School Namibia and International School Prague. So were you old enough to remember, or were you a little kid?
Yes. I mean, I was there from like 2nd grade through 7th grade. So It was really a formative part of my childhood growing up overseas.
Yeah. I was there 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So it was not, those are formative years, but we were kind of isolated. We didn't speak any Thai. I mean, my father took Thai lessons and we learned a few words in school, but nobody in our neighborhood spoke English. So we mostly just did school stuff, but that's very cool. And I used to live in the Bay Area. I lived in San Jose and Santa Clara and Orangevale, east of Sacramento, and then Napa and Vallejo. So it's, so I love Northern California.
Wow.
So that is cool. So Houston, you went to school in Ohio. How did you get out to San Francisco to start working?
Originally when I I started off as a law librarian just kind of by accident because I was a history major in college, and I did come out briefly to San Francisco because I went to San Francisco State for ethnic studies. And so I was originally going to be doing my graduate work there, but it ended up not working out. But, I always wanted to come back to the Bay Area. So after I finished library school, I went to University of North Texas. And one of my professors was Yvonne Chandler, and she was mentioned at the AALL, and she was a very important part of my library education. I think she touched so many people's lives.
She did.
But I had always wanted to move back to the Bay Area after I finished library school. So I moved out here in 2002. I originally started off at Oakland Public Library.
Okay.
And so, so that's when and then later on down the line, I became a law librarian.
Well, that is
So,
interesting. It's when I asked you earlier if there was something you wanted to be since you were a kid, that was kind of a joke because as a kid, nobody knows what a law librarian is unless they have one in the family or family
yes.
friend or something. No, I didn't learn about it. I started with Matthew Bender in 1989. And so I was calling on law librarians in Washington, D.C. And I discovered, there's this whole career. There's this whole field, this profession. And so that was pretty cool. So how have you seen law libraries change since you started working in law libraries? Because that's 23 some years.
I mean, it's changed tremendously. I mean, in 2002, like even when I was attending library school, it was kind of on the cusp of change. And so because it was moving more towards electronic resources.
Right.
And I just happened to become a law librarian by accident because even in library school, I never thought about the law or becoming a law librarian, even though there's a lot of attorneys in my, in library school. I had no idea what they were doing there.
Right. Right.
Because originally, I wanted to become a news librarian. And so I didn't know and so it kind of happened by happenstance. I was hired at Thielen. I had never worked in a law firm. I had never used Lexis or Westlaw. And so like when I first started, it was just learning all these tools. But I think I was really lucky just because print was still up very much at the forefront.
Yep.
And so like when I first started, I mean, there was still the Lexis software. And so they were still using the Lexis software.
Wow.
But that was and that was evidently I heard it was really hard to use. Luckily, I never had to learn how to use it. Right. But it was kind of we were starting off with I was really lucky that I had really great mentors, Todd Bennett and Ann Borkin, and they really taught me a lot. And so they knew the books. So I was learning how to do research in the books and online.
Great.
And so, that was back then. I mean, I think it's becoming less when libraries took up a lot of physical space. And, so we had half the floor. I had the world, all the books at my fingertips. And so that was the way I kind of learned research. But then I was also learning how to do research online.
Right.
And so I was learning how to use Westlaw and Lexis for the very first time.
Right.
And so...
Yeah, because it's hard to keep straight the timing on things. When I finished business school, that was 1986, and we just had started using computers, and they were very specific, programs, floppy disks, and loading a program in and entering data. So it was just sort of beginning then. And then in 89, I started with Matthew Bender, and they gave us laptops in 1991, I think, started issued laptops. They were huge, huge bag to carry them around. And then they kept giving us smaller and smaller ones. And then, in 98, Matthew Bender was sold to Reed Elsevier. And that was to get the intellectual property, to get all the Matthew Bender titles and the Mickey titles and put them on Lexis. And so that was really, a big deal. Things were moving. West was putting electronic resources up on Westlaw and Reed Elsevier put a bunch up on Lexis. So yeah, we've been there for the whole change.
Yes.
You and I. So say, for example, now in Venable, and you're in one of the high rises downtown, how much print collection do you have?
We have basically kind of a little alcove of books.
Okay. Yeah.
But in terms of I just cleared out, we are no longer updating our books. We're mostly going online. And so now it's really cleared up. And I don't think we need that much linear feed. We're also cleaning up our LA library. And so, I mean, there are certain books like the Rudder Guides you want to have in print. People want them in print. But it's getting smaller and smaller. It's not completely gone yet, but it's when I first started, we had all the case law, we had all the statutes, we had everything. We had both Deerings and West. It used to take up so much space, and now it's just becoming the physical footprint is becoming smaller and smaller, and we're relying more on I guess, online. And even the size of the books, like the Rudder Guides used to be these binders, and now they've moved away from the binders and they've become paperback books.
Right.
And so,
Right. Softbounds. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, your population, how many attorneys do you have in San Francisco, roughly?
In the San Francisco office, I think we might have about 20 to 30. I'm not sure. Firm-wide, Venable has around over 800 attorneys.
Right. Okay, yeah. No, I knew you guys were big. I just didn't know the size of San Francisco. So do they still want their office copies, their desk copies for some things?
We do still give out office copies, and there are some attorneys who still like their books.
Okay.
And so, but I think like more and more people are saying, we don't want these. We're going to just get them online, so we don't need to order these. So
interesting.
That used to be always such a big deal, like, getting office copies because you would spend all day unpacking the books and giving it out to people. But now it's like the younger attorneys, I feel like, are more moving towards that we're just going to look at this on our computer. So,
yeah, that's what we're seeing a lot of different places. Yeah, the newer attorneys are more comfortable because they came up with computers since they were kids.
Yes. Yes.
And so how is your library handling AI in legal research? Artificial intelligence in legal research that you guys do?
I mean, I think we're being very cautious. And so in terms of librarians, we're at the forefront of AI in legal research. And so we have been beta testing a lot of different programs. And so in terms of I would say that I think it's a useful tool that we might look at it just as another additional tool, but, we're not going to put all our eggs in one basket and say AI is the way to go. And
so you guys use it as another research tool, the librarians?
Yes, but not really officially. I'm still very much on the fence of it's useful in some occasions, but I think the biggest thing is just another tool. Coming up, when I first started, people weren't using Google for research. And now I feel like it's becoming, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, because I feel like everybody thinks, they're doing research because they're using Google.
But they're not. It's not a scholarly database. It's just everything.
And I really feel like a lot of the AI tools are kind of like a ramped up version of Google. And then I think the problem is, and I think this is where we as librarians, we have to make sure we're at the forefront, is that it's a useful tool, but you still need to look at the authorities behind it. And you have to verify everything, because there's going to be a lot of false information.
Right.
We have been doing a lot of, database testing and, beta testing. And a lot of times I think the problem is that when AI, they will frame it and it makes it sound like they are the authority and that they know what they're talking about. But when you drill down and actually look at the cases the cases are talking about something else.
Right.
Or if you're looking at the statutes that they pull up, the statutes are talking about something else.
Right.
And this is even with all the big name vendors. And so I guess I'm a little bit more worried, with the partners. I feel like in general, just across the board, there might be more skeptical, but then I worry about the younger generation. They might, if they grew up on ChatGPT, or if they grew up on Google, that is what they're going to use as their definitive resource and not go beyond.
Yeah, and that's an issue. I was reading up a couple of articles in the Times today about it's so seductive. It says all these flattering things and it gives you what you need, but it's not necessarily accurate. It's not necessarily based on anything strong.
Yes.
And
even with Google now, they have the AI overview. And so now I feel like people aren't even clicking on the links. They're just looking at the AI overview and saying, oh, that must be the answer, without looking at the actual source of where it's coming from. It's kind of like you still have to look at the actual cases. You still have to look at the underlying authorities. Otherwise, it's a game of chance. And
Right.
so,
So how are you guys doing that? So say, for example, new associates that come in, you probably had summer associates, you probably have fall associates. How are you guys using AI in training them and teaching them, the newer attorneys?
we are not really like using AI for we're not like
Okay.
recommending it or anything like that.
Okay.
We have a great trainer, Jamie Summer, and she actually does a lot of the trainings, and we will like highlight all the different vendors who have their AI tools.
Right.
But, the bottom line is, though, this is just another tool and you still need to verify everything. It's just it can help maybe augment your research, but that's not the end all be all.
Right.
So,
Right. And do you think that the major information providers, Westlaw and Lexis and PLI and VLEX and Bloomberg, do you think that they're still reliable, that they have not been affected by AI?
no, because I feel like they differentiate between their regular database and the AI tools. So
Okay, good.
I think they're being very careful too. So
Yep, definitely. And how do you guys use PLI?
PLI, I believe we have like the all-in-one plan.
You do.
And so we use it for all our CLE. I mean, we promote it to our attorneys. This is where, and I also use it for my research just because they have a lot of seminars and they have like programs that happen on a yearly basis. So sometimes like if you are looking for like the cutting edge or what somebody is talking about a certain topic, you can go look at their different seminars and look at their course books and look at the chapters and look at, what is the latest. And so I feel like PLI is a really great resource that is maybe underutilized because it has a lot of the cutting edge materials.
Right. Now, do you use, because you have the CLEs, that's what we call, Venable's what we call a privileged member, so you have full access to all the CLE, all the courses and things, but you guys also have PLI PLUS, which is all of our books. So
Yes.
That's the course handbooks and the transcripts and the treatises and the practice guides, and you're saying you use those for research too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you guys use that by any chance with training your new associates?
I believe that we do highlight PLI. It's just another one of our many resources.
Okay,
So,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
because a lot of the firms at your level, use it with training new associates to help them understand, what's out there and to help them understand how the secondary sources can be so valuable for them.
Yes. Yes.
And I
The
think
course
you've had
handbooks
PLI
are really
you've had-
useful.
You've had PLI everywhere. I mean, definitely Morgan Lewis and Bacchus had it, and Davis Polk has it. So, and I can't remember Thielen. I wasn't here then. Anyway, so you've had that
feel like
everywhere.
PLI even had they had a location in downtown San Francisco.
Oh, we do. We still do. We're on Market
Oh.
Street.
Okay.
We have about 300 people in the New York office and about 30-some people in the San Francisco office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have a presence there. Do you know we're nonprofit?
I just discovered that maybe a few weeks ago. I did not know that.
I had never
So-
known it either. When I came to interview, this is early 22. I said, no, I didn't know that you guys were nonprofit.
Yeah.
So that's a very nice thing. And we do a ton of pro bono work. And you guys do too. I think
Yes.
that Venable is very strong in that. So we do a lot of that work. Where do you see the future of AI in law firms like your own?
I mean, I think it's definitely a tool that has to be used because otherwise it will save time. And obviously, like librarians, we are involved in the research aspect of it. But in terms of I hear a lot of good case uses in which, maybe for attorneys, litigating attorneys, they need something to quickly summarize deposition transcripts. They don't want to spend hours and hours reading deposition transcripts. And so if there is a tool that will help them summarize, but of course, my thing would be then to look at the summary and if they're saying somebody was saying a certain something, go and check out that in the actual transcript to make sure that's what they were really saying.
Exactly.
But I mean, I kind of feel like we've had templates for a long time. And so this is just another way. I mean, you can use the template, but then you still have to tailor it to your own. And I would say the same thing with AI tools. you can use AI tools, but then you still have to tailor it and you have to give the human touch. And so to make it something that's usable and that's reliable.
Right.
But in terms of, so I do see like a big future in terms of like it can help like save time and it can help augment, but we still need to be the human eyes and to be able to make sure it's all correct. But I guess in terms of how will it affect us as librarians, I have noticed like over the last 20 years, the amount of information that has come out there is just getting the knowledge. Like when I first started, we didn't have judicial analytics. Right. We didn't have a lot of things, like a lot of stuff was not online, and now more and more things are becoming online.
Right.
And we have helped navigate in terms of like letting attorneys, how to utilize this information, because they don't have time to like be learning how to do all the different tricks that all the databases. We can be there to help them to like craft searches. Right. And I think with the advent of AI, it's just going to be even more information that comes out there. And so we as librarians need to be able to help like corral all this information that people can understand and to help with the research. And then, as I mentioned, with attorneys, that I think like the different litigation tools that aren't related to what we do, then it'll help them like streamline their own processes.
Okay. And you just mentioned tools. That was one of my questions. What are some of the tools that Venable has created or that Venable uses, and how have those benefited? How do your patrons use those? How do those benefit your attorneys?
We have, so my current boss at Venable is Justine Morgan, and she has done a great job of like bringing us into like, in terms of like streamline. I mean, Gene O'Grady started it first. We're revamping the library and our intranet website. And so since we have moved away mostly from print, we need to make it accessible, gaining access to these electronic tools. So we have been revamping our catalog so people can click on the links so they can easily access all these books. And so that has been our big thing, I think, creating Pathfinder so that people know what are the best resources in certain practice areas. And we have all been involved in, I guess, creating different, like, these are the best sources for California litigators, for Maryland litigators, for DC litigators, New York litigators, are like corporate resources. So I think that, our job is to make everything easily accessible for attorneys. So.
That's a perfect phrase, a perfect descriptor. I like that. No, I think you're right. And I'm sure that you guys have it set up so they can just click on whatever. They don't have to enter a username and a password and keep track of all that. You guys do that, or somebody on your team does that for them. So that makes it much better. No, there's an evaluation function that law librarians serve. You guys are checking out, we're checking out, all the different platforms and deciding which ones are the most useful and the most valuable for your attorneys, for the attorneys we serve, and provide those. Yeah, Justine's terrific. No, you guys have a great team. And it sounds like you're working for all the different offices. It's not segmented, like you just take care of the San Francisco attorneys, because you're talking about, Maryland attorneys and DC attorneys. So you guys, is it an hourly thing, or do the requests come to a whole pool and people claim them?
It comes to a whole pool. We have a database system, one of those like ticket systems like Quest. And so it's good because basically, I mean, I feel like it's like the reference desk is no longer like, based on regional. It's based on and Morgan Lewis was on that model as well. And so, we get to see questions that come into all, from all the different offices. So we have our eyes on everything. And so we have to know a little bit about every jurisdiction. And so we do have like specific like reference shifts. Like I tend to be, since I'm in California, I had the later shift.
Okay.
Yes.
So you work, say, 10 to 6 California or something like that? Maybe 9 to 5 California, 9 to 6?
Yeah, I work like 9:30 to 6 p.m., but then my desk hours are 3 to 6. And so, but I get to help out with all the other questions that come in beforehand, and I get to see all the questions that come in
Right.
beforehand.
All day long.
Yeah.
But you're there till 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a tremendous boon for your East Coast attorneys.
Yeah.
To have a professional, to have a research librarian available till those hours.
Yes. And I guess I was the first, until I came on aboard, like the reference desk would close at, I guess it would be like 3 p.m. Pacific. And we already had like attorneys in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So that wasn't really good for them if their reference desk hours ended at like 3 p.m. So
Right. Well, I'm sure you guys run from like 9 a.m. California time to the 9 p.m. New York time. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, the covering. So there's a big firm in Midtown New York, and no matter what time I would call, 24 hours, a person would answer.
wow.
I'd be calling a librarian just to leave an answer on their voicemail. And no matter if it was, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, if I was up early to catch a plane, went to leave a message, somebody would answer the phone.
Wow.
So that was pretty impressive.
Wow.
What are some of the most important learnings that you've gained over your 20-some years as a law librarian that you would share with fellow law librarians that you think it's important to know?
I think the thing I love about my job is that it's ever changing. Obviously, you've had to adapt because it's changed from like a 50-50 print electronic, and now it's mostly electronic. It's learning to be adaptable and to keep learning the new tools. You really have to keep on top of the databases and to attend trainings. And also to realize that not everything is online, because I am still requesting messengers. There's still so much. Everyone thinks everything is online, but there's a lot of stuff you still have to dig for. You still have to call people for. You still have to send a messenger for, or you have to go to the physical library. And so I would just to make sure that you always keep learning and be adaptable. I mean, that would be the main thing. And also not everything is online. Right. So to learning how to access those tools.
No, that's key. What I was doing, I was writing down adaptable and change.
Yes.
The signal, scientific symbol for change. Interesting. No, adaptability is key. I mean, you think of how it was when we got here and how different it is now.
Yeah.
And do your guys, are you in the office every day? How often do you come into the office, or can you be remote?
I'm mostly remote. I try to come in once or twice a week, but I'm mostly remote. But, I guess that's the other thing about being online is like you're always working now.
Right. Right. It's expanded.
Yes. And so like before it would be like I couldn't answer like questions on the weekends or in the evenings, but now it's like since we're always online, it's kind of like more possible to be able to do that.
Right. Except for those things you have to search out, or get a messenger for. So do you guys have reference hours on the weekends?
Not official. And so it's just mostly like if somebody is available to answer it. I mean, we're not going to like stop our weekend plans because, we have to answer a reference question. But if it's something that we can do, we try and help because we understand it. Attorneys are always working all the time.
Right. Yeah, we know they are. Yeah. Well, I was at Nile 7 years, and, we had our work email on our personal phones. And so I would answer things on the weekend, if they needed a case from Westlaw, that's easy. We could do that on our phone. So I would send that, on a Saturday or Sunday, and they're so happy. They're so appreciative. Yeah. But you're right. Work expands to a lot the time given to it. Allotted to it.
I was at Morgan Lewis, mostly during COVID. I was like, we were busy all the time. And I think maybe during the early days, because everybody was at home and couldn't go out or do anything. So we got that was when we were at our busiest because we were just, attorneys were working all the time. We were working all the time. It was like crazy times.
They were because, people couldn't get to the resources they usually used. And so they needed the librarians even more because you guys had access to everything and they might or might not. Can you tell me more about the Pathfinders that you guys use and who came up with that idea and how they're created and how they're organized? Because that sounds really useful, really valuable.
This was actually something that Juno Grady started because she was the library director before Justine. And
Right.
so she wanted like something that was kind of like maybe a first year's associate's bookshelf. And so what I did was just because, I had knowledge from the original preprint resources. And so I just put together a list of like what are the best, the like I guess the best treatises in each practice area. So whether it's arbitration or whether it's labor and employment or litigation or corporate or bankruptcy or real property. And so we just created kind of guides and then we put the links to it and then put it on our homepage just so attorneys know like maybe this is the first place they should turn. I mean, It shouldn't be a Google search. I mean, a Google search is good, but you also need to know like what is a good, well-regarded resource that other attorneys use. And so that's kind of what we wanted to put together just so that people knew where to turn or what, so they're just not like scouting around in the dark.
Exactly. And not knowing one resource from another if they're new, especially.
Yes.
So you guys said you put them on, you said you put them on your homepage. Do you have them on your practice area pages now, or is there a Pathfinder area on the main page?
I think we are working towards that. We haven't quite gotten to that stage yet because we want to do something that's more, because I believe Morgan Lewis has already done that, like, more that resources that are per practice group. And so I think that's our eventual goal.
Okay. But that's interesting. No, I like the term even, Pathfinder. Because that's what you're providing for them. Interesting. And so if you think back to 2002, if you would, you become a law librarian, you didn't expect to, you were you said public libraries first, right? Before you came to Thielen, Reed and Priest. What do you wish you had known? What do you wish somebody had told you at the beginning of your career?
That I guess I would still be enjoying my job greatly, like more than 20 years later. I mean, that's the best part. You're always learning. And especially like if you're working for a large law firm with different practice areas, it's like, you could be jumping from IP law to tax law to real property law to arbitration. It's like, you just never do. I mean, like a lot of times, of course, you're doing a lot of the same things. You're pulling a complaint, you're looking at a docket, you're looking at a judicial analytics. But then a lot of times you'll get this really strange question in a term of art you've never heard before, even though you've been doing, you've been a law librarian for 20 years. And so I think that's the best thing about this job is that you're always learning, you're always getting thrown for a loop, having to use your brain cells. So.
Yeah, you're right. So change, we're back to that theme of change and adaptability.
Yes.
But also, I think what you just mentioned, transference of skills, because you're skilled in researching one topic and you could use those skills on a new topic.
And I think just the amount of secondary resources that are out there is just amazing. Like there's I think it was Matthew Bender has the AIA Citator Index.
Yes.
And so, I mean, even like things like learning things like that. And that is something that I'm very glad I learned to use in print because now I know how to use it online on the Matthew Bender library. And so.
Yeah. Number one, it's out there because you've seen it, you've used it. So you know to go look for it. And then number two, the content.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, that was a great little book. When I was in Washington, we would talk to people about that.
And it was very construction law specific because, Thielen, Reed and Priest was primarily a construction law firm. So I got to learn a lot of the construction law treatises, which was great. So
which is excellent. Excellent. Yeah. What would you tell people if they were starting out? You've mentioned that one, you're going to love this for years and years. And your job is going to be different every day, or at least every week.
Yes.
What else do you think we should tell new people?
For me, it was just an unexpected turn of events because I never thought I would become a librarian, let alone a law librarian. So I can't really think of it. I feel like change is the key word here. And just be open-minded and just keep learning. And
I think you're right. And I think also it would be good to tell them, don't be afraid. Things are going to change. It's okay.
Yeah, I guess never give up. Also, that in terms of like, I am very much the scorched earth kind of person when I'm doing research. Like, you have to go through, I think, and then I think maybe my most rewarding moment was we had this question, and it was for a pro bono case. And it was for a veteran who he was trying to get his like benefits.
Yeah.
But his discharge papers in the 1970s was referring to a Marine Corps order. And the thing is, like, the judge had never heard of it, and it wasn't in any databases. It wasn't anywhere. And then, like, this is what I learned. Like, Marine Corps orders were these administrative orders that came out, like, just for a period of, like, maybe 2 or 3 years in the early 1970s. And obviously nobody had it. And so I ended up calling, like, I guess somebody in Virginia, an IT person, and they're like, okay, this is going to be on microfiche, but like nobody has access to it. But the thing was, it took me several months, but then, I ended up with like a really friendly IT person who was like, okay, I'm going to be driving out there at so-and-so. And she got me to order. We sent it in. The judge finally saw it, and then his benefits got approved. And so I think that is the thing. Like, our job is so interesting. We do so many different things, but the thing is to keep on going and to keep on pushing, just to get because the information is out there. You just need to be diligent.
Yep. And persistent.
And have some friendly people help you along the way.
And track it down. No, that's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
We had a client at Niley who was looking for, they might have been historical Hungarian documents. And so they're not, easy to find, but we just kept looking and looking and looking. And, they're out there. We just need to find them. But I love that story. Because you knew it was out there somewhere and you found it.
And that is the job of the librarian. We're supposed to go out and look for the information, and it might not be, obviously, this is not even something that's going to be online. It's going to be on paper, like on some microfiche.
Right. Or microfilm or in some old book.
Yes. But it's out there, and that is our job to help, people get what they need.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I think that's a terrific summary. You've said so many good things, but that's good when, that's our job, to help people get what they need. Just keep trying, just keep looking. Well, this has been a delight. Thank you. Thank you for joining me and spending the time. It's been really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. And no, I'm just so struck. I was presuming you were in Kuala Lumpur when you were in Malaysia. That was just an assumption, but that was a fair assumption.
Yes.
No, when we were in Bangkok, there were military people and there were oil people, lots of oil people. So the same kind of thing. I think you said that's the field your dad was in.
Yes.
Yeah. So we went to school with lots of oil kids and lots of military and some NGOs. I don't think they were called that at the time. Some kids from people that worked in that field. Anyway.
It is. Yeah, I love going to international school. Like, we didn't really have any military people just because, Malaysia wasn't really an outpost. We had mostly oil people and diplomat kids.
Okay.
And it was just a very interesting way to grow up because you got exposed to so many different cultures. And Malaysia, of course, had all the major religions there. So
Exactly. Interesting. But we went out, and toured. There's a mountain a little ways out of town where you climb up lengthy staircase. You can look down.
Caves.
Maybe there's a cavern inside, and it was only discovered within the last 20 or 30 years, maybe 40 years.
Oh, maybe.
Okay. Just the most astonishing things, that you would never see in the States. You would never be exposed to that or even know about it. That's what I love the most, is you saw, like you said, all different people from all different places and different cultures. Anyway, so do you travel now? Did that stick with you?
I don't travel as much as I would like. I've been traveling a lot. My boyfriend's Irish, so I end up lately I've been going overseas to England and Ireland a lot for weddings. But I will be going to Portugal for an IP conference in October. So I'm excited about that.
Wonderful. Hope you enjoy that. Well, I will let you go, but thank you very much. It's been a delight, and we're so appreciative. of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Practising Law Librarian. Be sure to subscribe and listen to our latest episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. And to learn more about the Practising Law Institute, please visit pli.edu. To learn more about PLI PLUS, which provides electronic access to the full collection of PLI Press publications, and schedule a demo with a member of our team, please visit pli.edu/plus. Please note that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast represent those of the individuals being interviewed and not necessarily those of PLI.